Hey, it's Matt Pinfield. It's KLOS new and approved, and I'm really excited to have our guest today. I haven't run into him in quite a while, but he's been doing some amazing things. They've got a new album out for Sammy Hagar and The Circle of all these incredible covers and some originals and Van Halen songs. So my guest is Michael Anthony, bass player extraordinaire, and a guy that always brings the good vibes whenever he's playing live, and I love that. Michael, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. I'm just hanging out like everybody else is right now, kind of wait until we can get back out and play on the road, get out there again.
Yeah, it's during the pandemic, I know that you've had the opportunity to work on music together, which I think is really cool. I mean, I know that you live pretty close to Sammy, right? So you guys are both in the same vicinity.
Yeah, he's got a place about 20 miles south of where I live now. He's had for the last couple of years, so now we kind of get together quite a bit more than we used to.
Well, during the recording of the songs that you did for Lockdown 2020, did you guys ever get together in the same place, or was everything done from home?
Everything was done from home. There's probably a couple of them where Sammy and our guitarist Vic Johnson got together and did it at Sammy's studio up in Northern California. But other than that, Jason and I both did ours completely from home, every single one of these videos and songs that we did.
It must have been fun, though. I mean, just because you have that time to kill during the lockdown while everybody has stay-at-home orders, right? So tell me when you decided you guys were going to do this and start doing some of these cool covers, and how did you decide on which songs to do?
Well, we actually the thing came about last March. God, I can't believe it's almost been a year now. But last March, we were supposed to go to South America and do a tour there. And we were actually supposed to leave right around the 11th and 12th of March. And that's right where, if you remember, all the lockdown, the stay-at-home orders all of a sudden got put into place. And we canceled that tour, and the wind just came out of our sails. We're like, oh, my God, what do we do now? And we're worried about the tour that we had for the summer, like everybody else, which ultimately got canceled. But we just had an idea. Jason had an idea. He goes, let's do a thing. Let's do a thing for the fans. I'm going to challenge you guys to learn a song that we're going to do. And the first one we did was it's the first one on the CD called Funky Feng Shui. It's just a little jam thing that we were doing backstage before our shows when we would play. And Jason found a tape of it that we had recorded with the guitar on it. So he put drums on it and then passed it along to myself, Vic, and Sammy. And we put this thing together, and we were thinking, wow, what kind of a great thing to do for the fans, just to let them know that we're still here and we're thinking about them and we're home like everybody else is. So that's how the whole thing actually got started.
It's amazing the tracks you picked, too. I love some of the things you did, like AC/DC, Whole Lotta Rosie, and, Buffalo Springfield, For What It's Worth. How did you go about picking which songs? Did you all have input, say, hey, I want to do this one? How did that happen?
Yeah, when it first started out, actually, it was kind of like, well, Jason picked the first one. So, Mike, you picked the second one. Sammy said, I'll pick the next one. Vicky picks the next one. And we're going to kind of go around like that. And it actually worked for a few of the songs. And then after we did a few, everyone was going, nah, let's not do that one. Maybe we'll do this one, But we just wanted to pick songs that we all love, some songs that we grew up listening to. We didn't want to do all Van Halen stuff or Circle stuff or whatever. We wanted to just kind of see where we could stretch out. And it was actually really cool because doing songs like, for instance, the Bob Marley's Three Little Birds, who would have ever thought we were going to do something like that? And that was a pick that Sammy had. He's all, just check the vibe out on this thing. We're like, yeah, let's do it. And it was really cool because we kind of stretched a little bit out of the bubble where we would normally, jam.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see you guys going into different territories with songs. But I mean, the thing about you and Sammy is you've liked so many different styles of music that it makes sense and it always works,
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, I got to talk about one of the great experiences that I had with you back in the late 90s. You might remember, of course you remember this well, when we got my friend engaged on stage at Madison Square Garden during that Van Halen show. Do you remember that night well?
I vaguely do remember that, though. I remember that happening.
Yeah, it was amazing because we had talked about it at 5150, and then we did it right before the encore. I came out on stage at the Garden and introduced my friend who was a producer of my MTV show, and then you and Eddie pulled up his soon-to-be fiance, he dropped to his knees, proposed to her. It was pretty amazing. It was just, I mean, the crowd went bananas. It was such a great night right before the encore.
It's kind of cool. We've done stuff like that, you know, quite a few times actually. You know, if we hear about it before a show or whatever, and we just all of a sudden say, hey, let's do this. It's kind of a cool thing to do, and it's cool for the fans too, obviously.
It absolutely is. Now, you know, I know that you've said in some other interviews that there will be, you know, a Van Halen tribute show, you know, since Eddie had passed. And I had to ask you, were you able to communicate with him or talk to him shortly before we lost him? Because I know that, you know, he had been ill for quite some time.
Right. Yeah, you know what? I actually did not have the chance to do that, and I really feel bad about that. But nobody really knew. You know, we all kind of in the inner circle, though, or, you know, that were a little kind of close to him, knew that he was ill, but I didn't know to what extent. And he was very private about his illness. And so, you know, we all kind of respected that. So we really weren't that much in touch before I found out with everybody else, you know.
Yeah, so
that he had passed.
But the good thing is, I know that you guys are planning on doing a tribute concert sometime in the future, which will be really good to see.
Yeah, well, you know, there has to be one. You know, to obviously, you know, we all loved Eddie, and the music, it was all great. You know, whether you're a Dave fan, a Sammy fan, a Gary fan, whatever, you know, and it's got to be celebrated at some point. But you know, obviously now is not the time, because, you know, his family's grieving, his son's grieving, everybody, you know, it's I'm still trying to wrap my head around it actually having happened, you know, but I'm sure it will happen sometime here in the hopefully not too distant future, and I'm definitely in when it does happen. You know, it's just it'll be a great celebration, I think.
I think it'll be amazing. I also have to talk to you about, because we're talking about a record that has a lot of covers on it, the new one, Lockdown 2020. Mm-hmm. Does it ever bring you back to those early days in Pasadena when you guys were actually a cover band? Do you remember some of the stuff that you played? Because you do Heroes on this record. Do you remember doing Bowie in the earlier years?
Yeah, I remember. I remember one of the first in Van Halen when we would all get together at Dave's house. Because we would make up the flyers for like some of the clubs that we played at and stuff like that. Alex and I were kind of in charge of making up the flyers and printing them all out. And we did. I remember one of the first ones that we did was Genie by Bowie.
That's great.
But we played. You know, back then it's like you couldn't really play any of your original stuff because everybody was, you know, they wanted to dance, they wanted to see this and that. And wherever we played, we'd do covers. We played everything from Bowie to ZZ Top. We played, I'm sure, you know, you've heard it in interviews in the past, the Ohio Players, you know, which all that stuff was recommended. That was Roth's idea, by the way. But, you know, and we just played everything just, you know, to get the people in. And then once they were in, would sneak in some of the original stuff and kind of try to grow our original stuff from there. But yeah, we played pretty much from A to Z, you know, rock to whatever, you know.
So I have to ask you, Michael, you as a bass player have become such an icon for other bass players out there, and people that see you as a major influence. For you, who were the bass players that you loved, that you admired growing up, and in which bands were they?
Well, when I was first actually exposed to music, my older sister turned me on to it. She was like, this was like all the whole hippie era and everything in San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury, and for everybody who's old enough to remember all that stuff. And the first album that I ever even looked at that she brought home was by a group called Blue Cheer. And I'm sure you probably remember them. They were actually a San Francisco-based band. And she had their second album. I opened it up, and it had a picture of them on stage. And their bass player, Dickie Peterson's got this Fender bass down around his knees with stacks of Marshalls behind him. And I knew right then, that's what I want to do right there, you know. But you know, so I was introduced to the rock bass players early on, but I mean, I listened to, you know, Jack Bruce, John Paul Jones, Chris Squire, you know, all those guys. And then I got into some of this, you know, started listening to like Jaco Pastorius, you know, James Jamerson, some of that. But I was really locked into the rock stuff because my whole circle of friends, you know, it was all about the rock. So I listened to all the rock bands.
Yeah, and did you play along with those records, things like Blue Cheer, Summertime Blues, or?
I played along with all of them.
That's
I
great.
played along with all of them. In fact, I'll still every now and then I'll hear something on the radio and I'll go, "Wow, I remember that song. It's really cool." And when I'm kind of practicing at home, I'll put it on and I'll play to it. You know, because they're just great songs to me growing up, and I still love a lot of those songs. And I mean, for instance, you take Led Zeppelin 2, you put on the Lemon Song, and John Paul Jones does this little bass thing, just bass and drums in the middle of the song. Man, I love that thing just as much today as the first time I heard it way back when I was a little kid.
Yeah, it's so good. He was so good. Speaking of that, you must have, once Van Halen became so popular in your years of touring, come into contact with many of those bass players that you admired. Is there any one in particular meeting or chance meeting with one of those guys that was really stays in your memory?
Definitely. We were playing, I forget, it was Monsters of Rock in Donington in England, early 80s. And John Entwistle came to the show. And I was just like, I mean, all of a sudden, you turn into a little kid. I don't care how big of a celebrity you are or whatever. And I'm just like, what do you say? I'm your biggest fan, You say the most stupid thing right off the bat. Actually, I used to, in a little part of the show, I would whip out this bass that looked like a Jack Daniels bottle. And he actually picked that bass up backstage during sound check and played it and liked it. And the only thing I just wish I had was this right here, so I could have gotten it on video. But meeting him, he was the first big time bass player that I listened to growing up that I met, and he was the nicest guy. Unfortunately, I could only understand probably about every sixth word that came out of his mouth when he was talking with his accent. but what a great guy! It was a great meeting. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, he had that heavy Shepherd's Bush working class London accent, right? And so, he's an amazing guy. I got to meet him when they did the Quadrophenia retour in 1996, and sat with him and had a couple drinks after the show at a hotel in New York City, and just asked him about some of his bass parts. But what an incredible guy. We miss him.
The drinks even make it worse. I ran into it. There's a really quick. There's a convention that they have out here in Anaheim, California, every year called the NAMM Convention, which is the music merchandising show. And I saw him at that, and we actually both were part of a jam that happened one of the evenings. But he had a couple of beverages. He had actually, funny enough, he had just gotten back from Cabo San Lucas, hanging out there. And so him and his guy that was with him, we were drinking margaritas, and I couldn't understand a word. I just laughed when he laughed, and we had a great time.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story. I love that. So what about working on some new material? Because the last time I saw you and I spoke to you, it was early during sound check. We were hanging out at the Troubadour here in L.A. for the Sammy Hagar The Circle show. And it was just great to run into you again. We were talking that day. And, of course, I'm sure you guys look forward to getting back on the road. Is there plans right now to work on some new original material while you're in lockdown?
You know what? We're throwing around a few different ideas or whatever, but we really like to, the way that we'd love to do it is all of us in one room where, the communication and with the chemistry going on like that. It's a lot easier. Obviously, you come up with great ideas and whatever on your own at home. But I'm sure if this lockdown goes on much longer, we'll probably start doing some of that. But I can't wait until we can all get together and pardon me, and jam together. And because we have a lot of ideas wherever we're out on the road, and everybody does this. We've got a little tape machine that's always running. If somebody's got an idea, or before the show, someone's just warming up, we all jump in and start playing. We just let this machine go. And we've got all kinds of ideas that we haven't really started working on a lot of them yet. But I'm sure we're going to, whether it's going to be at home if we're forced to do it like that, or if we can all get together and work on it like that.
Yeah. So, before we wrap, I wanted to ask you, is there a favorite cover on this new album, on Lockdown 2020? Is there one in particular that is near and dear to your heart? A song that you either love the version you did, or it was a song that meant so much to you?
Well, you know what? I really like all of them. There's probably two of them. One of them is obviously Won't Get Fooled Again, because I get to play John Entwistle stuff, and that's always fun to play. Any of his bass lines. I think the last song that we did, Heroes by Bowie, we decided to do that. We decided that we were going to, and, if anybody wants to see these videos we did for it, you go on YouTube and see, because we did short videos to go along with all of this. We wanted to throw a shout out to like the first responders and all the people that have done so much to help people that are in need, ever since the pandemic started. So it was the only video that we did that we actually kind of geared it that way. And if you happen to see it, it looks like a newspaper, and different articles pop out showing different things that had been in the news that you probably had seen that responders did. But I think just the way we did the song, because Sammy, to tell you the truth, he was freaked out about singing it because he doesn't normally sing in a low register like that. And he's like going, Mike, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sing this, and I'm just like, just have a couple of margaritas or something, go ahead and sing it. And the way it turned out, I actually told him, I said, Sam, we have to, if we do any covers on an upcoming album or whatever, we got to do that song, because I just love the way we did it. And I'd love to play that song live. It's got a really nice, cool groove and heavy vibe to it. I really like that song.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you guys did an incredible cover of it. You really did it the way that I'm sure Bowie would have appreciated it in a big way.
Well, I would like to hope so, that he's up there going, hey, good job, guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, making that decision to do things for the first responders and the people on the front lines I think that was a great thing to do. Obviously, you have so many fans of everybody in the band that are out there that are those emergency workers. Have you heard?
And you know what? I just to interrupt you really quick though. I just wanted to also add in though that also for that song, that any money that we make, from the song or whatever, doing the album, it's all going out to food banks. We're donating all the money from that song to any families, people that are in need. I just want to throw that in there too. Yeah,
and I think that's a really great thing. Well, Michael, I want to thank you for spending time with us today. It was really great to catch up with you. It's always good when I run into you, and I can't wait till I can come see you play again and hang out, and you can come over here to KLOS and hang with us as well.
Yeah, now that your studios are in Burbank, it's a pretty easy drive. Here I am. I'm gonna volunteer myself or something here. But hopefully the next time that we speak, it will be on the road, and hopefully it won't be too long. And we can't wait to get out and play in front of the fans. Just like everybody else, I'm sure everyone's chomping at the bit, and we've got plans that we're making that hopefully will come to fruition this summer again. That we're gonna announce some big touring plans. So hopefully it all happens.
Yeah, I hope so as well. We look forward to that time. So Michael, thanks for taking the time today.
Hey, Matt, great talking to you, everybody out there. We'll get through this and get back to what we do. Rock.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Thanks, Michael. Michael Anthony from Sammy Hagar and The Circle. Of course, Chickenfoot Van Halen. One of my favorite bass players, and a guy that, like I said, when he performs live, you can't help but look at him with that smile on his face and be in a great mood watching him play. This is new and approved KLOS. I'm Matt Pinfield. Thanks for watching us.